Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Tuesday. It is literally Tuesday, right? Forward, backwards, even upside down, if you do it like, computer type of twos. It's twos across the board. It's the same thing all the way around, right? And as a friend pointed out, it's also Taco Tuesday. I'd be curious to see what people are going to do because it is, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I decided to go with a different deck today to open up Twosday Thoughts while I wait for everybody to jump on, and then we'll get into today's topic, which, again, is covering mental health. We're going to stick with that theme for a while. Good morning, older sibling, because I think it's very helpful. It's something that I know a lot just from experience. Just to reiterate, I am not a counselor. I am not a therapist. These are my experiences. These are things that I find on the internet. I do give credit where credit is due. And they're things that I want to share because, I randomly happen upon things and I feel like I'm guided to share them, right? So, and I do open up with a card reading just because I think it's fun, right? It's a little bit of guidance in the morning. Maybe you're feeling a little like, if you're thinking about whether or not you should have that coffee or your afternoon tea or whatever it is, do it. Just do it. Because, hi, coffee and tea. But I swear, it's like, my nose won't run all morning, and then the minute I hit play, it's like, boom, 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 boom. So anyways, let's see. I got the butterfly deck because today is a lot, a day of transformation. It is a huge day of transformation. We're talking triple twos across the board. In 200 years, wouldn't that be kind of cool to see? It'll literally be 2 all the way across. Forget that 0. It's going to bump that 0 right out of there. But still kind of neat. So anyways, boy, these cards are just stubborn today, aren't they? Alright, there's a couple poking out. Alright, one more shuffle and that's it. So if anybody needs to hear anything, please say it now. Also, I have to tell you, my manifestation skills are off the charts right now. I had a bit of a issue yesterday, health-wise. Not anything dire or bad or deadly, but baby sibling reminded me to gratitude it away, and it worked. Then the other day, I was just sitting there thinking, boy, you know what? It's been a hot minute since I've been to a Anaheim Ducks game. I had season tickets for years, but I ended up giving them up because I sustained a mild head trauma. I say mild because I know people who, even though it's taken me 5 years to kind of get back to normal, I know people who never do. So, I don't want to complain too much. But I was offered tickets from a friend of mine who can't make it with her parents. So we're going on, older sibling and I are going Sunday. Super duper excited, right? I mean, wow. It's like, parking pass and everything. So, I know, and I've been trying to manifest a friend with a pool. I forgot the friend that gave me the tickets that wants us to come over and visit has a pool. So, it's weird too, because they literally live around the corner from me. But it's funny, right? When you have friends that, and we met through hockey, but when you have friends and then they end up living like right around the corner from you, and it's so strange. And, her parents are getting a little older now, so there's a lot of concerns with the virus that's been going around. But it will be nice to be back in touch. So, yeah, so again, like I said, every time I pass her street, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, so-and-so lives down that way. But yeah, good times. I can't wait. I'm super duper excited about Sunday, and I manifested that. I manifested I'm at about 95% health now, and whatever, all this lady stuff that was happening is going away. So thank you, baby sibling. Oh, good morning, baby sibling. Gracefully aging. Okay, thank you for that. Gracefully aging. So I'm not going to go to the books just because we have a lot to talk about today, but I'm going to share my thoughts on this. So I watched a video yesterday where somebody says that, if you want to look good, you have to have surgery, and because it makes you feel good. Now, to all the people who struggle with self-love, I'm not saying don't do it, because if it makes you feel good, it makes you feel good, right? If it makes you feel happy to do whatever it is you want to do to yourself, then do it. But what I wanted to point out is try to get your head straight first, because I think that that's a very misleading comment. There are a lot of people out there who do not elect to do surgery and are literally aging gracefully. Okay, and I think that's kind of what this is talking about. But like I said, if it tickles your funny bone, do it. Just don't do it because you think other people will pay attention to you. If you're going to do something, do it for yourself and yourself only. Don't do it for anybody else. Okay? That is self-love. That is having respect for yourself and saying, hey, you know what? I always thought I wanted bigger boobs. So, I'm going to go for it. If you have always wanted to color your hair, but you're afraid what other people are going to think, fucking color it. Who cares? Just do it. Okay? Make yourself happy. Do what makes you happy. But don't feel like you need to be pressured into something because maybe something isn't where it's supposed to be anymore. Or, maybe you are. And, exercise. Believe it or not, exercise will help with a lot of these things. Okay? But I think when we get older, we figure, I don't need to exercise. I don't need to do this. I don't do that. There are exercises that can help these things. Yoga. So yeah, when it comes to stuff like that and aging gracefully, do what makes you happy, not anybody else. And also, I think the biggest part of this, because this is what's really gnawing at my brain, don't be afraid of your age. Okay? I know a lot of us, when we get older, it's kind of like, oh my God, I feel old, nothing's going to happen for me, this, that, or the other. And then you read about somebody who literally, 60, there was I know I cut myself off in that thought, but older sibling and I were watching this show on Showtime, a documentary, and this woman literally went back to art school at 60 years old. Now she's a well-known artist in her community. And I think she's in her early to mid 70s now, but it's like, holy crap, she went back to art school at 60 because it was her passion. And she thought, why not? So she did it. And it's like, wow. And so that just goes to show the only person that limits you is you, not your age, you. You're the only person that holds yourself back. I need to remember this because there are parts of me where I don't really care about my age. And then there's parts of me like, well, am I too old to find this, that, or the other? Not am I too old to do this, that, or the other. Am I too old for these things, these beautiful, wonderful life things to happen to me? So age gracefully. Just enjoy each moment. Okay? If you can't do one day at a time, do one moment at a time. But don't worry about your age because you know what? You're still on this planet. You're still breathing, which means you still have life in you. Which means you can go out there and live that life. You can put those breaths of air to good use. Okay? I mean, remember when we were kids and we thought X amount of age was old? And then there you are. I always looked at people as not being old. I always looked at them as kind of in awe. When I was really, really little, and then somebody says, you should never say that. And then you kind of think about it and you're like, ooh, yeah, I'm going to be that age someday. And then you start thinking, I hope I'm going to be that age someday because, I got one of those. So the fact that I'm still living and breathing means that there's still a lot of life for me out there. And I need to start embracing it and start living it. All right. So gracefully aging. Decisions. Do you have a decision that needs to be made? This sounds like a commercial. But do you? Seriously, if you have a decision that needs to be made and you can't seem to make that decision, write a list, pros and cons. Okay? And if you're still not happy with that, write another list of pros and cons. Think of scenarios. Try to, visualize one decision and its end result, and one decision and its other end result. Now, the end results may not actually be what happens. But remember, it's like I talked about last week. I don't truly believe in bad decisions anymore. I believe in decisions that either put us on our path or forces us on our path. If you are ignoring something and you're trying to make decisions that go against what you know you should be paying attention to, then it's time to just face it. Or life is going to make you face it. All right, so remember, there are bad decisions. There are bad choices that people make all the time. But I'm talking about everyday life decisions, right? You're like turning left, turning right, going straight. Just things like that doesn't impact other people, at least not in the long run. And if it does, it's in a good way. All right, so because yes, there are bad choices and bad decisions that people can make that get them into a lot of trouble or lose them people they care about. But again, like I'm just talking about your everyday life stuff. All right, so if fear is holding you back, do it anyway. All right, so hobbies. Is your brain going in a million directions and you don't know what to do to settle it down? Find a hobby. My mom actually had many hobbies. She did the stamping thing for a while, like the little stamps, and she made cards and all these neat little things. And then she got into, she also crocheted and knitted. So, or crocheted, I don't know, whatever. I know there's a difference, and I think it's the needles that they use, the crocheting and knitting needles, but whatever it is, she did both, because I found two different types. I found the big long needles, and then I found the knitting needles. But find a hobby. Mine is writing. Yesterday my energy was so frazzled I couldn't even get my website to pull up so I could put my blog on it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that today and follow it up with today's blog. So I also blog about these topics when I'm done, because not everybody watches the videos, right? So some people just like to read. But yeah, find a hobby. If you want to start exercising, find a mall walking group to go with, I mean, there's all different kinds of things that you can do. So it's a good way to make friends. Emotions. You got to feel it to heal it. Right? You got to feel it to heal it. So I don't know who this is for. So if any of my friends are watching this later, and I mean friends, because there have been a few people that have reached out to me that I have been speaking with and trying to help them. If you are journaling, or if you are going through things, you have to learn how to sit with the emotions for a moment, okay? So that they do not stick and do not come back up later. If they do come back up later, it just means it still needs to be healed. Okay, so don't be mad at the emotion. If the emotion comes out, I have had a lot of emotions that I got mad at because it's like, God, I thought I was done with this. But it turns out each time I've had to deal with it, it became less and less traumatic to deal with it. So if you are doing work on yourself, if you're doing shadow work, if you're just journaling, if something happens to you the day, if something pisses you off because it might be a trigger or a memory, sit with the feeling. If it's anger, get mad at it. If it's sadness, cry with it. If you feel like crying, if you don't hold back the tears, let them come. That is how you heal. It's like baby sibling mentioned a couple weeks ago when I was crying on one of my perspectives. Shell tears are healing. Okay, and with the anger thing, I think I posted something. I talked about this a while ago, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the person's name anymore. But they were talking about set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes. Yell, curse, vent, whatever you have to do, right? If you're going to write it out, write it out. But when that timer goes off, let it go. Staying mad at something forever is not going to help the situation. Okay? So it doesn't. It's not going to make it better. It's actually going to affect only you. And if it doesn't get under control, it'll start to affect the people around you. When it comes to the crying and just the sadness or whatever, feel it to heal it. And remind yourself that you are lovable. Okay, if it's something that makes you feel ashamed or guilty, you are lovable and you are enough. All right? Finances. Maybe I need to read the book on that one. Actually, I think that one came up because I wasn't going to revisit the topic from yesterday, but I think I might really quick. I shared a lot of things that I had not intended on sharing. In fact, I was telling baby sibling that when we talked on the phone, and then I told older sibling that last night when we were talking. I told them both, I said that was not in my book. That was not my plan to share where I was at, financially and all those things, but I think the reason it came up today to remind people is that this is what depression can do. Okay? I think it just flew out of my mouth because it needed to, because I thought I was in control. I wanted to control it so bad, even though I knew I wasn't in control. It was a sort of acceptance and acknowledgement for me of exactly where I was in that moment yesterday. I had to accept that I'm not in control. And yesterday's topic was life is not linear, and my life isn't linear. Nobody's life is linear, but I was refusing to turn and to do the loop-de-loops. I was refusing to do all these things because I wanted to be in control. And then now I put myself so far behind that it's almost overwhelming, and an anxiety-riddled feeling of how to get out of this now. Barring a miracle. But there is acceptance. And I told baby sibling for the first time in months, I haven't known what's going to happen next or how I'm even going to handle all these things, but I have found this peace within myself, this genuine acknowledgement, right? But I guess the reason I wanted to also bring that up is older sibling and I were talking about this. There are going to be times when we're talking about these things and mental health might come up. And then, things that I talked about yesterday, like I said, were not intended to come out. I have nothing to hide, okay? In order to do these perspectives, there's a certain amount of me I have to open up and share. Because the whole point of the perspective is to show people that they're not alone, right? That, even if one topic doesn't fit you, the next one might. Or it might fit someone. But I'm going to talk about this more on Thursday, but how people will sit there and say, don't blame your mental health, don't blame your depression for this, don't do that. There are a lot of people who do not go through life with a dinged up mental health that have no idea how debilitating it can be. Even if you are a person with high functioning depression, which I do have. My diagnosis is major depressive disorder, which is kind of nothing compared to what a lot of people have. But as baby sibling would say, you are still valid in where you're coming from. Like she would say to me, your feelings are still valid, even though they're different from somebody else's. What you're feeling is valid. Well, my diagnosis, as she would probably say, is valid because it's still a diagnosis. And for the most part, I do handle it, and I am getting better at balancing it. I am doing better at all of that. But there are people who don't understand how debilitating it can be, how traumatizing it can be, and how when you finally have that acceptance, you're sitting here thinking, oh shit, now what? She's sitting here telling me now in the comments, you're valid. I am valid. I'm validating myself. So, but anyways, so, and maybe it's a card that, let's just read this one really quick. Then we're going to jump into our things. I don't want to get too deep into this and then spend a bazillion hours on the subject because I have a lot to cover. All right. This card signals a change in your financial situation. Please don't allow yourself to assume that this is a negative reversal. Ooh, maybe it means something good is happening. It is twos across the board. The only reason why you would feel afraid is because the ego associates change with fear. Yet this card heralds a reward for the diligent work you've done and are committed to continuing. Through the spiritual law of cause and effect, efforts always yield corresponding results. This also means that if you haven't been actively putting in effort, your financial returns will reflect this. Happily, though, you do have the power to change your finances for the better by taking steps that you are divinely guided to. Keep your thoughts elevated because positive thoughts really do create beneficial financial changes. So additional meetings, good time to ask for a raise or promotion. So there you go. If you have been wanting one and you haven't been sure, maybe that's your decision you have to make. Go for it. Remember, the worst they can do is say no. Maybe not at this time. But it will empower you a bit because you will be saying, I know what I'm worth. Okay? So just know, even if you get a no, you've done it. Starting a new business, reducing expenses, caution about whom you enter into a business agreement or sign a contract with. Think on that. If your spidey instincts are saying no, don't do it. Okay? Even if it's someone you care about, maybe a friend, if your spidey instincts say no, don't do it. Just, gently, step back and say, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And that's just an example. Okay. I don't want to be responsible for people losing friends. An investor, an inheritance, winning a settlement, a favorable outcome, graduation, settled debt. That would be nice. But anyways, I think the other thing I wanted to talk about was, it was actually in that first part, change and fear. So I was talking about the loop-de-loop yesterday, and life is not linear. And I think part of the reason that there was so much fear on my path was because fear of the unknown, which is change. But when you really kind of break it down into small little things, we change every day, right? I mean, I literally have counted about 5 pairs of glasses around the house that all belong to me, were all bought within the last year and a half, and are all the same prescription. And I thought, that's a lot. But they were a progression up to my favorite ones, which are these. And my other ones, which, sit firmly in here, which are my other black ones that you guys have seen on the perspective from time to time. And I know you're probably thinking, why are you talking about your glasses? Because it's change, right? I mean, when I change my glasses, it actually changes my look. Because these are a lot thicker. These make me, I don't know, these are like my show glasses. But, they are my favorite, I'm not gonna lie. But it's change, and I never thought I would own a pair of glasses like this. I never thought that, these little bad boys would, do anything for me. But I love them. They're my favorites, which is one of the reasons why I don't wear contacts right now. And why I feel like I look weird when I don't have my glasses on. So anyways, that is that for that thought. And like I said, I wasn't trying to bring up the rough stuff I talked about yesterday, because like I mentioned, I wasn't planning on talking about that again. And I wasn't even planning on talking about it yesterday, because it does put me out there for judgment. It does put me out there and people thinking, oh, really? You're just a hot mess and you're stupid and you're irresponsible. I was stupid and irresponsible a long time ago, but even in my stupid and irresponsible and bad choice days, I still made better choices. The issue was I didn't fully accept that when you have depression, you're not in control. I mean, you're not in control of life, period. I said that to baby sibling and she just kind of laughed like, duh. I mean, especially for all the stuff she's been through in the last couple of years, almost 3 years now. She's been through a lot, 2.5 years, and that was a lot of change, just like that. But it was just kind of that, yeah, I'm gonna flick you upside the head because it's about time you finally get it. But I just don't think I wanted to admit or have any sort of acceptance, because there's a part of you when you have depression, and I'm going to cover this too, because today I want to talk about a symptom of depression that I have experienced firsthand, and that's anger. And, if this had been before the last round of shadow work, my final round of shadow work that I had done recently, which was really rooted in fear, which kind of controls everything else, right? I probably would have been angry with myself, because when I look back and see the mess I created in my wake, the financial mess I created in my wake, I'm angry. And I'm angry at myself, because for a brief moment that I didn't mention during that acceptance, I felt so broken. I mean, I literally felt so broken. You know, how can somebody at my age, at this point in my life, be in this predicament? You know, where's the responsibility? Where's the, accountability? And I had taken accountability, but I didn't know how to fix it. And that was the problem. So, I'm kind of using this as a very odd and strange segue into what we're going to talk about. But several weeks ago, I would have taken it out on somebody else. I would have held in that anger. I would have held in that pain and that sadness. And something would have triggered, and then they would have snapped. And maybe not gone into that anger rage, but just snapped at someone and gotten snarky. In fact, I very well may have. It's just a lot of times I don't remember it because it's just not something that sticks in my head, or it happens so quickly that I don't even realize it, or maybe it's just such a bad habit that it does happen. So now I'm in a situation where this full acceptance, strangely enough yesterday, has given me a sense of peace. And I'm learning to rise above it. And I'm learning to fix my vibe. I am taking steps to fix my vibe so that I can vibrate at a higher level. So I can find that confidence again to fix all this, to do what's necessary to fix all this. So today is about Tuesday, or today's about Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, okay? Tuesday Thoughts is about depression and anger. So there is a lot I have to read. I got this from Instagram, from the Mental Health CEO. It's all one word, Mental Health CEO. And I accidentally happened upon it. I was in the search area, trying to find a friend that was on there because there was something, sometimes you open Instagram and you see something and then it just disappears because everything reloads. So I was in there looking for one of my friends, just trying to find a quick one. And this popped up. They were several slides. And I thought, oh my God, this is why. I've been led to this. So one of the less commonly talked about symptoms of depression is its connection to anger, also known as rage. Here's why depression may make you more prone to anger. Now, before I continue, I want to put a disclaimer on this. All right? Because there's going to be people out there that say, well, this person did this and this person did that. So why, aren't you helping them? And here's my answer to that. And if you're in this same situation, when people do not take accountability for their actions, they cannot be helped. And also, on that note, I should say, they have been tried, people have tried to help them. I've tried to help people. And basically, I just got slapped with my own words. We can't help people that don't want to be helped. But this hit home because when I was in the early stages of really kind of being in acceptance of my depression, when older sibling took me under her wing and very patiently and very slowly, because I'm the resistor of all resistors. She had patience with me, but I didn't cry a lot back then. I would just be angry because there was so much pain inside. And it's like I talked about yesterday. Sometimes when there's so much pain inside, you just want everybody else to hurt around you. Because you don't know how to be happy like they are. You don't know how to be balanced like they are. It's a foreign concept when you're in so much pain and so much hurt. I'm learning how to be happy. That may sound stupid and it may sound crazy, but when you grow up hiding something, when you grow up, keeping a secret, there's always that level of fear there that somebody's going to find out. So it's like an anchor, right? So you feel this joy, but it comes in waves. It doesn't stay. And then when you're alone again, you're back to being with your feelings. So when other people say, oh, just smile, be happy, it's not always that easy for everybody. For some people, they do it. It takes work. It is a work in progress. And now that I've understood that that is a part of me, I've been working on that for a while just to be happy, to enjoy life, to take each moment at a time. That's why I tell people, if you cannot do one day at a time, take one moment at a time. Okay. And I find that sometimes, because I am still this work in progress, I can get snarky sometimes. And it's not fair to the people around me, especially when I'm trying to readjust and balance. I need to take a step back, take a deep breath, and just be kind in the way I speak. So it's not, this does not reflect well on me. But if it's going to help somebody, then that's the point. But like I said, this is for all the people who are trying. And to all those people who are trying, don't beat yourself up after. If you have to walk away, walk away. Don't keep it going. Don't yell down the stairwell. Don't be an asshole. Just walk away before you say something you don't mean. Don't expect the other person to understand. Don't expect the other person to even, give you that emotion you want from them. Like, well, why do you do this to me? Why can't you just let me be for a moment? Because a lot of times they're just trying to help. They're just trying to fix you. And sometimes when people are trying to fix you, it's because they have an inability to fix themselves. And that may not be the case all the way around, but a lot of times that is. They just don't know how. So maybe when you're better, you can help them if they're receptive. But don't look for that, don't try to put people in a position where you would think, well, you should be understanding me more. You should be trying to understand me more. Just walk away. Take that deep breath. Just tell them, look, I need to walk away before I say something I do not mean, or before this escalates and gets bad. All right. These are tools I've had to use. Count to 10, count to 5. Okay. Do the 5 count, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it as many times as you need to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mel Robbins has a lot of good 5 things, like 5-second rule, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. And I'm not sure if they're all used for that, but I've used it for that. So I need to read more on her stuff, but Baby Sibling was telling me about a lot of these things. So here we go. Here's why depression may make you more prone to anger. Irritability. Common in those with depression, irritability refers to when you are more likely to snap at others over trivial or minor things. Number 2, like I said, this does not reflect well. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not a bad person. I am just literally trying to find my footing. And for me to actually say I'm not a bad person and to not feel guilty and shameful over what I'm reading you and to actually be doing this shows the progress I have made. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to validate myself in front of all of you. I think this is also an acceptance for me that I am learning, that I am actually progressing in the right direction, that I'm not taking 3 steps forward and 4 steps back, because I am trying. All right. So, number 2, inward expressed anger. However, depression also makes you more prone to judge and hate yourself, exaggerating your mistakes and flooding you with self-directed anger. That could lead to self-harming, self-shaming, self-guilt. That could throw your depression even more into a spiral. Number 3, nowhere for that anger to go. Because depression also tends to make you shy away from social contact, you bottle up your feelings, which causes it to overflow and burst. I talked about a while ago, before I actually went to my very, very first therapy and before I was diagnosed with depression, a lot of that rage that had been built up inside of me for my childhood trauma, I don't know what was happening, but out of nowhere it started, where I would walk down the hallway and all of a sudden, bam, I'd punch the wall. And then I remember talking about a picture I had on the wall, which my aunt now has, and I hit it so hard the picture fell off the wall. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty good at hanging things back then. Not great, not like older sibling. Older sibling's like a magician when she hangs things. But her stuff has literally not fallen during earthquakes. Right? Yeah, I live in California. We get those. But it fell off the wall. I know, right? And I didn't know what to do. And so my boyfriend at the time suggested, maybe you need to go to a therapist and find out what's happening, because he knew what happened to me when I was a child, and he's all, I could be part of that. So thank you, very insightful. So and I was very grateful for that. So I did, and that they told me it's basically nowhere for that anger to go. And because I didn't understand where that anger was just suddenly coming from, it's because it was pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, right? I can't remember the quote from Freud, but actually it's funny because it's making its rounds right now and I shared it. But how unexpressed emotions will not stay buried. Okay? So again, like I said a long time, in a couple of perspectives ago, Freud and Jung kind of worked together. They separated because there was a difference in opinion on a lot of things. But I think sometimes when you have a mentor and then you run off into a different direction, it's good because you're also taking some of the things that they talk about. There was just a disagreement, I think. Well, I'm sure there was a lot of things across the board. But one of the things I liked about Carl Jung is he is actually the father of shadow work. And shadow work is where I found so much of my healing. It's where I found a lot of my pain, but it's also where I found a lot of my healing. So number 4, hostility and putting others down. You might also tend to be mean to others to make yourself feel better, making sarcastic comments, blaming people, and retaliating strongly against perceived insults. I think I've done this. I'm pretty sure I've done this. But I think it's also what I talked about, where you don't know how to be happy, so you want to make other people feel bad because you want them to feel as bad as you do. So I'm not sure that's exactly what this means. You might also tend to be mean to make yourself feel better. It's very possible that, good morning, Auntie Charmaine. It's very possible that you are making yourself feel better because now everybody feels as bad as you. You don't know how to be happy. You don't know how to have that joy and have that respect for yourself. And so you're dragging everybody down with you. And I know that's a terrible way to put it, but it's also very accurate and very honest. So number 5, anger attacks. For some people, they get anger attacks when they are overcome with rage. Symptoms include anxiety, destroying things, tightness, and breathing issues. Never destroyed anything. Have thrown things. Actually, I've thrown one thing. It was a muffin, and it was not a pretty thing. But that was years ago. I mean, that was years and years and years ago. But yeah, not my finest moment. So maybe one day I'll share that when it's not so embarrassing. But the anger attacks when they are overcome with rage, it can lead to anxiety. I mean, sometimes if you see somebody just, you know, there are occasions when you'll see this in bipolar people that don't realize they're bipolar, right? They're literally normal. I don't want to say normal, but they're literally balanced. Then all of a sudden they hit their high and then they hit their low. And I don't have bipolar depression. I'll be honest with you, I'm grateful because some of these diagnoses of people that I know personally have, it is like being on a merry-go-round and it's going normal, then all of a sudden somebody hits the button and you're hanging on for dear life, but you're excited, right? But then all of a sudden they stop and then you fall off and now you're hanging on for dear life because everything's going at that same speed in reverse. But you're not on the horse anymore. You're not hanging on. So it's not fun anymore because you're literally trying to grasp something to hang on to. And for me, having seen it firsthand, this is the only way I can describe that. And because of that, you'll sometimes see people that just end up in the corner crying because it's like, what the hell just happened? And it's going to happen sometimes. You know, even if you have it under control, if you do not maintain that control, which can also be hard because you are literally going through anxiety, depression, and asking yourself to keep yourself balanced. Right? So that's where the symptoms can be anxiety, destroying things, tightness, and breathing issues. I honestly think that's why they have some of these places now where you can walk into somewhere and take a sledgehammer to something, right? And just destroy things. And that's supposed to be a very good way for people to get out their anger. And I think they mean that for normal people, but I think for people who have a mental health issue, I think it'd be fabulous. Because you're not destroying your own stuff. I mean, how many times has anybody out there broken something and thought, oh God, what have I done? I loved that. Okay, I'm grateful I've never gotten to that point. But I have seen it. And it's sad. It really is sad. And there's no judgment here. But you see that shame and that guilt. So then now they have something more to deal with in that cycle. Number 6, guilt and shame. What? See, look, I forgot about that one, and there it is, guilt and shame. Immediately after the anger, however, people often feel extreme guilt and shame for not controlling themselves, often going on apology tours. I have been on the apology tour where I've apologized over and over and over again. I mean, even later, it's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. And I think it's better if somebody goes on the apology tour with you, sit there and say, read the room first, but don't say it's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Just say, you know what? I accept your apology. Because I think a lot of times when people just try to brush it off and say, don't worry about it, this and that, without actually saying, I accept your apology, I think they feel like it's kind of still an open-ended situation, because you're just kind of, I feel like it's like they feel like they're not being seen, right? And I've had this with older sibling. I was very agitated this last weekend, and I think it was because I was finishing up my shadow work. I was having a lot of emotions that were very, very new to me, because these are things that I blocked throughout my life, and to keep myself safe. But I've been opening up to these new emotions and feeling a lot of things all at once, plus feeling overwhelmed because of the situation I shared earlier, about putting myself behind that 8 ball and making things harder. I just felt very overwhelmed, and I started to get upset, and I didn't get angry, but I got snarky. And then finally I just said, I have to go upstairs. I have to go lay down. I have to, with older sibling, I'm the queen of apology tours. This girl does not do a whole lot wrong. Okay? But she apologizes for everything, which should actually be another subject I think I'm going to have on the perspective, because I think that's also a mental health issue. It's people pleasing, right? Fight, flight, flee, fawn. Fawn is in like the deer. Fawn. Fawn. And fawning means to be a people pleaser. And it's not a bad thing, but it's just because a lot of times there's so much pain inside that you can't heal it, so you want to please other people to make yourself feel better. It is literally about serving from an empty cup, or pouring from an empty cup. But when it comes to the guilt and shame, like I was just saying earlier, I had to go upstairs because I didn't want to say anything I didn't mean. And I could feel it. I could feel this agitation coming up, and I didn't want that anymore. I don't like that feeling. I hate that feeling. But then I came back downstairs later, and I was just like, I'm really, really sorry for what happened earlier. It's like, I'm really trying to get this under control. I'm really trying to understand these emotions, and feeling them in real time, too many at one time, is just, I have to learn to deal with that. Because like I said, a lot of these really are new to me. People may look at me and say, hey, wait, you mentioned how old you were a while ago. Why is this still new to you? Because I didn't deal with these things earlier. In fact, I'm going to talk about this on Thursday. Because yesterday, when I was talking to baby sibling, I started playing the what if game. What if this had happened in my life? And I realized this is an excellent topic, because I think it needs to be said. So this is like opening the History of Shelley book this week. But I did, and she's so sweet. She kept saying, don't worry about it. It's fine. You're fine. But I wasn't fine. Instead, I think what I wished I had heard was, I accept your apology, and I know you're trying. Not trying, but I know you're trying to do better and be better. Because I think that would help me feel seen. So, if you're one of those people that don't get upset when they say, no, don't excuse my bad behavior. I need you to, accept my apology. Accept their apology. Because that's part of their recovery, right? I've never been to AA. I've never been an alcoholic. But I have watched the show Mom, which was kind of an expose in comedy form of people who are in recovery. And I've learned so much, because there's so much from my own trauma And even in a way, emotional eating. There's so much in my own trauma that they had to go through, except they just covered up their pain with alcohol and drugs. And not all of them had that pain. Some of them was just people, sometimes addiction runs in families. Older sibling will tell you that it runs in hers. And so, and that's not a secret. Her and I talk about that all the time. Older sibling is also a very open book. So when I talk about her or baby sibling, I just want you to know I have their permission to talk about things. But, you know, I learned things in that. And sometimes it really is all in the wording. So if somebody's trying to apologize, just say, I accept your apology. And if you're the person that is asking for that apology, I mean, if you're the person giving that apology and they say, I accept your apology, let it go. Okay? And I'm not saying just, you know, I accept your apology to appease them. Okay, don't do it to appease them, because that's not going to help them. And a person can feel another person's vibe a lot of times. But truly mean it. If you truly accept their apology, then accept it. If you're struggling to accept their apology, then tell them, you know what? I understand where you're coming from, but what you said really hurt, and I'm here to talk with you if you want to talk it out. But not if it's going to escalate. Because I do want to help you. I do want to be there for you. And sometimes that will make the person realize that there's still more work to do. And I'm sorry cannot be used as a band-aid. You can't just slap an I'm sorry on it and think it makes everything better, because it doesn't if the behavior does not change. Okay? So, number 7, other conditions. Some people with depression also have borderline personality disorder or anxiety orders, which just heighten the rage. I just talked about that in a way. Borderline personality disorder, I don't know, when I was reading up on it, it seems very similar to bipolarism, but I'm not sure if they're the same things. Okay, and it's hard because they both, you'll see on Twitter, I have BPD, but it's like, is that bipolar or border personality? It's like, I don't know the difference. So I do need to do more homework on that, but it can add to the anxiety and the rage, because I do know somebody who has BPD, borderline personality disorder, and they can be on such a high one minute, just being super inspirational, and the next minute they'll be tweeting how, you know, the world would be better without them. And it's not for attention. It's because it's genuinely how they're feeling, and because so many people have walked away. This is their community. This is the only place they can look to for support. So sometimes you have to read the room on that one, because it's not always easy. But, you know, like I said, if somebody is looking for that help, if somebody is reaching out and saying, look, this is what I'm going through, but I want to be better. You know, and it really comes down to the saying, being bitter or being better. I don't want to say that I was bitter when I was going through a lot of the things and trying to heal them, but I think that's also the most fair and accurate word was, you know, bitter. I was bitter. I was bitter because I see the people around me that are thriving, that are living these lives that they wanted to live. And because I've had to deal with my mental health, I'm playing catch up. And I shouldn't be playing catch up. Because one of the things I'm also going to talk about Thursday is I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Baby sibling validated this for me yesterday when we were on the phone. And she said to me exactly what I had been thinking, and exactly something I put in two different journals over the last couple of weeks. She said to me, you're exactly where you're meant to be, because now you're helping people. And it kind of led up to it, and I kind of finished the thought with, you know, thank you for validating that, because that's exactly how I felt. Because I don't want people X amount of years younger than me to be where I'm at now and wondering why the hell life is just starting now. And remember, life can start at any age, period. But this is my purpose. This is my thing to carry through life, to show people, to help people to understand, you know, and to let them know that it doesn't matter if you're older than me or younger than me. There's always room for healing. You're never too old and you're never too young. But I think about the me from 20 plus years ago, and I think, wow, where would I have been if I had somebody like this to listen to? And that's where I try to come from. That's where I try to pour my cup from. Is that place of, you know, if you take care of it younger, there's so much more time that you'll have to appreciate who you are, to learn about who you are, to love who you are, to hopefully find that balance. And yeah, I just saw my aunt's comment, hurt people, right? So if you're in pain, you want others to feel in pain. So hurt people. And it's not intentional. It's coming from a place that even they don't understand. And that's why it's followed by the guilt and shame. And then that's why it's followed by the apology tour, right? Because they realize, this is why I think more people should talk about the anger that comes with it. Because a lot of times when people hit that point of rage, they've lost it. They've lost any sense of control. Baby sibling says she just listened to a song titled that this morning. Hurt people. I'm assuming that's what you're saying. But we should make a song called Queen of the Apology Tours. But anyways, just kidding. You know, yeah, you gotta throw the fun stuff in there every so often too, right? But sometimes when you get to that point of anger, it really does become a nasty cycle. And the only person that can break it is yourself. You have to find the tools, and you have to find that thing inside of you that says, no, stop, before this gets bad. You know, I will redirect people back to December and the last couple of days of November, when I did I think it was 25 days of self-love. All right. Because believe it or not, self-love can help the anger. I put in a lot of tools in there. I put in a lot of things that you can do. But you know what? Count to 10. If you can, walk outside for a moment. Go out of the room for a moment if you have to. Clear your head and come back and have a conversation normally, if it was ever meant to be a conversation. Sometimes we just come up with shit because we just need to be angry because there's that anger coming out. You know, if you have a backyard, go throw some rocks at your fence. You know, if you don't have a backyard, go lift some weights, go ride a bike, go for a drive. Well, maybe not a drive if you're angry. Don't drive when you're angry. Or go for a run, you know, just something that's going to literally get all that agitation out of you. All right. And going for a run, people may think, oh, why would I want to do that? Because you're going to get tired and you're going to realize, oh my God. And you're probably going to find some clarity. You know, go for a walk if you can't run. All right. So just get some fresh air, take some deep breaths, take as many as you need. So I want to close this up with one thing that may help when you experience anger from depression is to communicate to the people around you that you might be prone to anger attacks. I see that as a good thing and a bad thing, because depending on the person, they might think, oh God, what if I say something wrong? Then they may just be afraid to talk to you. So if this comes up, save it for that moment when you feel that anxiety or that agitation coming up, and say, you know what? I am literally a work in progress, but I have been known in the past for anger attacks. I have to walk outside so that I don't say anything I don't mean. And I'm not walking away from you. I do want to communicate and have this discussion, but I need to go outside to clear my mind for a moment. Don't try not to say it rudely. Just don't run out of the room, you know, let them know. I think that's why a lot of times people leave the room, why they run out, why they run away, because they don't know how to deal with it. And they don't want to be that person. They don't want to have that anger, right? So they run, they flee because they don't want to fight, you know, so they don't want to fight. So they take flight, right? Let's make that a new thing. They don't want to fight. So they take flight. But they don't say why they're flying away. They just kind of go. So communicate that. You don't have to say I'm prone to anger attacks, but just say, you know what, I need to take a breath because I don't want to say anything wrong. Or not anything wrong. I don't want to say anything I don't mean. All right, but I just need to calm my head down. I need to get my head clear. And while it certainly doesn't excuse people for their outbursts of rage, it does help when we offer empathy for the person with depression instead of judging them all the way around. If somebody runs out because they don't want to fight, when they come back, don't be angry. Just say, what can I do to help? Older siblings are really good at that. What can I do to help? And if they say nothing, just say, you know what? I'm here for you. What's happening in there? What's going on? Be direct. Don't just say, you know, are you feeling something? Because they may not want to say that. Just say, what are you feeling in there that is causing you to react this way? Because I want to help. I want to communicate with you. I want to help you get better. But if you come back in and say, well, why the hell did you just run out? That's just going to piss them off again. And then you're probably going to end up fighting because they're not going to want to keep running out the door. So just bottom line it. You know, sibling says that to me. Let's bottom line this. Not always the best approach. So again, read the room. But she does sometimes like to say, let's bottom line this. What is happening in there? What's going on with you? What are you feeling right now? Because I know you're feeling something. Okay? So this is mine. From my experience, so this is about judging them all the way around. From my experience, they are taking accountability, and this could lead to healing because they feel they are being seen and heard. Sometimes anger comes because they don't know how or are too afraid to ask for help. That was my experience. I was too afraid to ask for help. And then now I'm trying to settle this in my mind because I feel like I should be so much farther along my path. And these emotions still come up and they still cause the anxiety from time to time. I'm lucky I don't have major anxiety, but I do get it. I think everybody gets it. It's just not as debilitating for me as it can be for other people. It has its moments. I'm not going to lie. There have been some very tense moments in the last couple of months where I have felt so overwhelmed that my anxiety just shot through the roof. And it scared me. And the only way I could calm it down was to go to sleep because I didn't know what else to do. I had to reset myself. And sometimes I think that would cause an anger because I've done so much of this hard work that I feel like I should be so much farther ahead. So my problem is, instead of thinking in the present, I'm too busy living in my future thinking about where I should be as opposed to appreciating where I'm at now and how far I've come. The only time I look back is to see how far I've come. And to be honest with you, I've come a very long way. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very proud of myself for how far I've come. And I'm grateful for the support of people I've had along the way. You know, older sibling, baby sibling, even my Auntie Charmaine and I have some good talks. You know, there's a lot of other people that listen. But these have been, especially the siblings, have been two people that have really, really helped me. My father doesn't really understand depression, but we've had several short talks about it. And I feel seen and heard by him. And that's everything for me. Because it's somebody who does not understand that is trying. And sometimes I tell him, don't overthink it. I wouldn't, and you know, to put it plainly, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And I think that's where it really kind of hit home, where it's like, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, what I go through sometimes. You know, and if you're also feeling like me, or if you're anybody across the board who has that dinged up mental health, please don't think somebody can't love you. Okay? Because your person out there, they will love you. They will not pass you by, but you have to leave yourself open enough for them to find you. Okay? Your person will understand, and they will probably continue to help you heal and to guide you. You know, so I'm kind of speaking out of my ass on that one because I don't know. But the reason I'm saying that is because that's how I feel. Talking about all this today and putting this out there it makes me feel like I am so unlovable. Like I'm not worthy of somebody else because I have these issues. But it's a reminder for me as well that, you know, there are people out there who will understand. There are people like me out there who understand, you know, and off. But I see you. All right. I see you. I appreciate you. And even if I don't know you, I see you and I appreciate you. So, that being said, when we understand and when we take the time to understand, especially people, excuse me, who do not have a dinged up mental health, when we take the time to understand, we can help end the stigma. We can help end the judgment, and we can get people the help, the compassion, and the understanding and empathy that they truly need to get better. Okay? It may not cure what they have. You know, I mean, they always talk about how depression can go into remission. I know it's a cancer term, but they talk about how depression can go into remission, but they don't say it can be cured. They just say it can go into remission. So I think the more understanding and compassion we put out there for people, the more people we can help balance themselves into remission, balance themselves into a place where, you know, that ugly head of mental health, right, just peeks around every so often, but that we have the tools to close the door on it, you know, and say, nope, sorry, not today. And that doesn't mean it's always going to happen like that every day. That doesn't mean it's going to happen for a lot of people, period. But that's why we have to be understanding and compassionate. Because if we end the stigma, we can open a lot of doors for a lot of people. We can help people who are afraid to turn to people. Okay? And that is the segue for tomorrow. Because tomorrow I'm going to talk about why people find it hard to open up to others. All right, that's Self-Care Wednesday. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Hope everybody has a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I hope this helped a lot of people. I think anger is the part of depression we don't want to acknowledge because it is probably the most embarrassing part of depression because it can cause so much damage. It can cause so much harm. So it's not just embarrassing. It's also really racked with guilt and shame because nobody ever wants to be that person that gets mad. And, you know, like I said, hey, I am talking to you. I have been through that. I've been there. And it's embarrassing for me to admit that. But at the same time, I know it needs to be said. Because if we see other people and we see how they're adjusting and we see how they're getting better, we see that it's possible for us too. And I want to be that person for other people. I want people to see and say, hey, look, you know what? She may not have her shit totally together, but she's managing it. She's managing it. And she's slowly moving away from the anger and healing it. I've had to go through it to grow through it. And I've had to heal it. I had to feel it to heal it. And I've done both. And boy, I tell you, they body slam. It was like being in a, I don't know, I don't watch Ultimate Fighting stuff or even wrestling, but you know, you see it on TV, right? That's what it feels like. It feels like being punched in the face and then body slammed and having like one of those big muscly guys just bam, right on top of you. So, right? And you're just like, oh my God. You know, it's like having an elephant sit on you. So, and elephants are big. But that's how it feels. It's that pressure. It's that pressure. And I think it's time that we give ourselves some grace. You know, no more guilt, no more shame. Give yourself some grace, learn to walk away, and learn to gently communicate. Don't be afraid to ask for help. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. Please join me tomorrow for Self-Care Wednesday, where once again, we're going to talk about why people find it hard to open up to others. And this also comes from the mental health CEO. So he's featured this week. yeah, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook Live. Everybody's welcome. It is public, so anybody can watch. All right, or you can catch the replay on YouTube later in the day. Usually up by 11 a.m. or 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Under the Aloha perspective with me, Shelly Marie Lucas. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.